Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry about the weird angle today, and I'm also sorry about this. So today's video is actually going to be my 32-week bump date. Okay, it's a little bit better. Okay, so it's going to be my 32-week bump date, but there's not a whole lot of the symptoms and stuff that I want to talk about. I mainly want to talk about the vlog that just went up yesterday. So you'll see this the day after my preterm labor scare vlog goes up. So that'll be up first, and then this will be up. So I was watching back some of the clips from that, and you can tell I was very, very anxious and like wasn't really giving good enough information about what exactly happened once I got to the hospital. So I explained why I was going to the hospital, but I didn't exactly explain what happened when I was there. So I'm gonna quickly run through that, and then I'm gonna tell you guys about my symptoms from this past week, and then how baby girl is doing, and that'll be my bump date. So if you guys watch the video, you'll know that I had a preterm labor scare on Thursday of this past week. That was 3 days ago? 3 days ago. So here's what happened. My mucus plug was lost on Saturday. Okay. Starting story time over. On Saturday, I lost a chunk of my mucus plug. It wasn't a whole lot, so I wasn't too worried about it. Do you guys see what is going on here? I wasn't too worried about it. I did call my midwife, and she wasn't too worried about it, but she did tell me to call back if I was leaking fluid, having contractions consistently, or lost any more of the mucus plug. So I was just going about my day, and on Thursday I lost, was it Wednesday? Did I think it was Thursday? I don't even know. I think it was Wednesday. Anyway, not important to the story. I lost the rest of my mucus plug, and it's confirmed that that's what it was. Then I started leaking fluid. Technically, I started leaking fluid, then lost the mucus plug, and then was leaking more fluid, if that makes any sense. So I called my doctor, and she told me to put on a pad and to call back in an hour and let her know how much of that pad was soaked. So I did just that. I put on a pad, and then I waited. And about 45 minutes into the hour that I was supposed to be tracking how much fluid I was losing, I started having contractions. And they were pretty painful. I mean, they weren't horrible. They weren't I don't know, they weren't that painful, but they were decently painful to where I would have to kind of stop and breathe through them. So they started coming every 10 to 15 minutes. So they were timeable, and I was able to track them. So finally, I got in touch with my doctor about 7 o'clock. So everything started at around 4:30, 4:45. And I called my doc around that time. Around 5:30 is when I started having the contractions. And then and then I was calling my doctor so much, but she was just I guess busy with another patient, or something happened with the communication that she wasn't getting my calls, or I don't know what happened. But finally I got in touch with her at 7, and she said, okay, that sounds like preterm labor, I want you to come in. So I had to wait for Brendan to get home, and if you see in the video, I was quite frustrated because his phone died, and I was not gonna go by myself because 1, I don't have a car currently, and 2, I'm just not gonna go by myself. I can't, I needed Brendan there. So I waited for him to get home. He finally got home around 7:15-ish, so it wasn't that much after I spoke to the doctor. And off to the hospital we went. When we got there, my contractions were about 7 minutes apart, so they were getting really close together. And they were getting more painful too as time went on. So I got to the hospital. they check me in, and then when I get into the room, she gives me the rundown that if this is amniotic fluid that I'm leaking, and if you know, these contractions don't stop, because they immediately hooked me up to the monitor and they could see my contractions and that I was really having them. And they were tracking baby's heartbeat and everything like that. So they told me if they don't stop, if the contractions don't stop and this is your amniotic fluid, we're going to admit you and keep you until you're 34 weeks, because we can't have this baby coming right now. That's just not ideal. So I said, okay. So they checked me for the fluid and found out it was not my amniotic fluid. It's a long story about what it really was, but I'm not going to get into that. But it was not my amniotic fluid. Let's just put it this way. It was just medication that I didn't realize could leak out like that. So they said, okay, so it's not your amniotic fluid. However, you're still having contractions. So we're going to put you on IV fluids, get some fluids into your body, and see if that stops the contractions. If it does not, we're going to check you, see if your cervix is dilating, and go from there. So they gave me the fluids, and it didn't stop the contractions, but it did space them out more. So when you can see in the video, actually, I had just been hooked up to the IV, and I was waiting for that to work and like kick in. So they were about every 10 minutes again at this point, after the fluids had finished going all into my body. So the doctor comes back in and she's like, okay, how are we feeling? And I was like, honestly, I'm still having contractions, but they are spacing out. And she's like, okay, I'm going to check you and see if you're dilated at all, and see if these contractions are doing anything. So she checked me, and I was at a 1. I was 1 centimeter dilated. But my cervix was still long, and but it was starting to thin out a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all she said. She said it's starting to thin, however, it's still pretty long, and you are at a 1. So I was like, oh, good. Great. So these contractions are causing me to dilate. So the doctor was literally standing in the room for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what she was going to do with me. Like, she was just standing there like having a conversation with herself, kind of. Like, she was just like, she's like, oh, I don't know what to do. She's like, I don't know if I should keep you or send you home. Like, she's like, are you sure that these contractions are getting further apart? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I can tell they're getting further and further as time goes on. And so she went back to the machine, she looked at it, and she's like, okay. She's like, kind of, but not really. And I told her, I was like, no, I promise you, like, they're getting more spread out. Like, when I got to the hospital, they were close to being like 5 minutes apart, and well, they were like 7 minutes apart, and then but when I was at home, they were like between 10 and 15 minutes apart. And she was like, okay, so they're kind of going backwards. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, all right. So she was really hesitant about sending me home, but I did not want to stay there. I didn't think I was in labor, even though the contractions were causing me to dilate a little bit. But I just didn't think I was in labor. I had a feeling they were going to stop, and I was really hungry. Like, I just really wanted food. So, she sent me home with the condition of, if they get more painful, if they get closer together, or if my water really breaks, to come back. So that was it. I went home, and they started to get more and more spread out. They went from about 10 minutes apart to about 20 minutes apart to one every like 30 to 40 minutes. And then eventually they didn't technically stop until like the next day, but throughout the night, it was just like every couple hours I would just have one. So the contractions did stop. I have no idea what was causing them. It probably was dehydration, because even after I got released from the hospital, I was drinking water like crazy. I'm like, I'm getting these contractions to stop. I'm not going into labor at 32 weeks. It's just not gonna happen. So now I'm feeling a lot better. Definitely I'm not having any contractions now, actually, not even Braxton Hicks. So I'm going to do my best to stay hydrated and do my best to keep this little girl in here because it's not time for her to come yet. And if she does try to come, I'm going to get admitted and have to be on hospital bed rest. They don't even do at-home bed rest if your fluids are leaking or anything like that. So that was story time for what happened in that video. Because it was just a little all over the place, and I feel like I wasn't really explaining things well, so there you go. There's the explanation about what happened. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you guys about the symptoms I've been having this past week, which haven't been a whole lot, but it's worth mentioning. So obviously I had that scare, but besides that, I haven't really had a whole ton of new symptoms. Just the worst thing that I'm dealing with right now is this freaking heartburn and the associated nausea. So I really only get nauseous now because of the heartburn, because it's so bad. It is like, so like, apparently I'm somebody who doesn't really hold back in videos, so sorry if this is also TMI, but I had one night where I had eaten too close to bedtime and was up all night, not throwing up, but I was just spitting out stomach acid. So it was coming up so high that it would come into my mouth and I would have to spit it out. Like, it was so bad. So that's fun. So heartburn has been my #1 symptom for a while now, but it's just getting worse as she's getting bigger, and I don't think it could really get any worse than it is now, because I have it all day after I eat anything, and even if I just drink water, I get heartburn. So my doctor did give me a prescription for famotidine, it's called. It's technically just Pepcid, but it is helping. So hopefully I have found the thing that helps me, but it is just horrible. So that's my #1 thing. Peeing a ton more. I mean, I pee all throughout the night, all throughout the day. Like, I just am just peeing like a racehorse at this point. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all I really am feeling. I'm obviously getting more uncomfortable. I feel bigger. I feel, you know, some days are worse than others. Some days I'm like super sore. Okay. Other days I can manage it. Other days I feel decently okay, to the point where like sometimes I need to take Tylenol. Like, that's how sore I get. So not a whole ton of symptoms, but definitely feeling more and more pregnant. Let's just say that. As far as baby girl, she is almost 18 inches long and 4.3 pounds or something like that. I don't know. She's like in the 4-pound range. So that's where she's at 32 weeks. She is confirmed by my doctor to be head down. However, they don't always stay like that, but I feel like she hasn't really flipped in a while. So I feel like she's just going to stay head down. But she is head down confirmed, so that is a good thing. All right, so that's it for my symptoms. I will show you my bump. And also, be on the lookout, because after this video, hopefully within the next week, we are going to be setting up our bassinet, because that came in the mail the other day. So I will be doing an unboxing and a assembling of the Halo Bassinet Glide Sleeper. I got the one with the 2 feet. I don't know if you guys know anything about those Halo bassinets, but yeah, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and a assembling of that with Brendan. So that'll be fun. So look out for that. I won't look like this in that video. I'll probably be a little bit more put together. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any more of my videos. Baby girl is trying to make an early exit, so whenever she does decide to come, that birth vlog, there will definitely be a birth vlog of some sort. I don't know how good the quality is going to be, because it probably won't be me filming, but we'll see. So again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Here is my belly. Okay, so here is my 32-week belly. I'm officially growing out of all of my pre-pregnancy t-shirts, but yeah, here she is. 32 weeks. She's growing and growing. Other side. Yeah. So from what I feel and what the doctor has confirmed, her head is down here. Her body swivels this way, so her feet are like over here-ish, like over on this side kind of. And her butt is like right here, and it goes up under my ribs if I sit too like slouched. So that's how she's laying in here. But yeah, that's my tummy. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.